Hey, this is Mark Moore, aka Tuxedo Mark, at various places on the internet. It's 10:17 a.m. according to a computer clock on Saturday, January 31st, 2015, and I have some more Gem comics news and a bit of Gem movie news. Okay, let me try to go in rough chronological order. There is a subscriber variant cover for Gem number 1, the comic book from IDW. It looks fairly nice. It's Gem on the front cover. She looks kind of, badass or something. I guess the comic's called Gem and the Holograms, but she's kind of obscuring the holograms part. Kind of neat cover, I guess. I like it better than the actual artwork that they seem to be using for the regular comic. Anyway. Also, Gem and the Holograms were featured on the front cover of the January 2015 issue of Previews, the magazine that you order comic books from through Diamond in the direct market. That's like the North American comic book shops. They've got this magazine called Previews, and the band was featured on the front cover, which is nice. They officially call themselves the Comic Shop's Catalog on the front covers, and yeah. Anyway, let's see. Okay, now let's move on to a bit of movie news. This isn't news, but it's exposure. On December 29, 2014, the movie was featured on a YouTube series called Beyond the Trailer, where someone basically just, talks about the movie, and she gives like a quick, generic, rundown. No new information. It's just telling where Gem came from and that the movie's coming, and yeah. I'm gonna have links to these things, so you can check it out if you want. Let's see. There's an interview with Kelly Thompson for the comic book. She's the writer for the comic book. I don't have a date for this interview. There doesn't seem to be a date listed here, but I'll link to that. There is an interview with both the writer and the artist, Ross Campbell. So I'll link to that interview as well at Newsarama. There's an interview with Christy Marks from January 11. She was the original developer of the Gem cartoon series. There's an interview with her at Steed. Okay, so I'll link to that. Okay, next big movie news. January 19, there was an interview with Ryan Guzman, who plays Rio in the movie. He was talking about another movie called The Boy Next Door, but he does mention some tidbits about the Gem and the Holograms film. Let's see, hang on. At the beginning, before the actual interview, it says the upcoming feature film adaptation of Gem and the Holograms, where Guzman will make his singing debut as Rio, a hapless road manager caught in a love triangle between Gem and her secret identity, Jerica. I wonder if this is definite for the movie, or if they're kind of going off the TV series. And anyway, it says, and sorry, Jim and the Holograms fans, but Ryan Guzman says that Rio won't have his trademark purple hair in the live-action movie, but he hopes to bring it back in the sequel. Okay. Let's see. Scrolling down, it's a 4-page interview. Let me try to find the gem parts. Apparently he's also an MMA fighter, and he's writing an MMA themed movie. Interesting. He also writes short stories. Anyway, let's see. Let's see, he says, yeah, I sing for the very first time in that. That's what I love about this whole acting gig, man. Just the fact that you get to broaden your horizons. You get to experience things you never thought. I wouldn't sing in the shower to hear my own voice, but then acting comes along and it forces me to be like, do you want to be a part of this movie full tilt, or do you just want to half-ass it and hope it does good? So I want to push the limits. They asked, did he watch Gem and Holograms? He's like, I had to research, get some Rio research. Okay. Rio, they say, a very interesting story arc in the show. Oh God, he's a player / like, and a victim too. And he's like, yeah. And they're like, you feel bad for him too because he's dating Jerica, and then she comes on to him as Gem, and I'm like, is this a test? What are you supposed to do here? It's the same woman, I feel bad for him. He laughs at it and he's like, yeah, because in the end he's falling in love with the core person. He's not falling in love with this add-ons with Gem or Jerica. It's just he's falling in love with who she really is, and she's doing this weird test or whatever and calling hipster names and saying whatever it is she's got to do. That's games. Okay, apparently he doesn't even understand why Jerica did this in the original series. They're like, yeah, it's brutal. He's like, yeah, I did my research for sure. The only problem is, and I know I'm going to get flack for this, but I don't have purple hair. Let's see. They asked, did you consider the purple hair? He's like, oh yeah, I think if they do a sequel, I'm asking for the purple hair. They say, that's good. Did he do a screen test to try it out, or did they not want to go that far? He says, it was more centered on the girl's story, and I happened to play the road manager engineer who works for his mom's company. So the storyline was changed a little bit from the actual cartoon, and it was this weird thing of making sure it's relevant now, but giving you the authenticity from the 1980s. They ask, is it set in the 1980s? He says, no, it's set now. You've got to catch the demographic of the young kids nowadays and get them interested and invested in it. So what I feel like they're doing, and I hope they do, is this is the story of the making of the band, and afterwards here's Gem and here's Jerica in all their glory and all their crazy weird hairstyles. They say John Chu produced your step-up movies, but he didn't direct them. He says he was an executive producer on a couple of them. then they talk about John Chu for a bit. They ask, did you try singing for them in an audition piece? He says, they told me to just to come in and act, and if my acting was strong enough, we could work around the singing. And I go, man, this is the one film I feel like I'm not giving my all to, so that's why I did the singing. There are also some separate loose quotes from him where he says, they gave me a 15-minute vocal lesson in the back of an alley. Okay. He says, I think if they do a Gem sequel, I'm asking for the purple hair. He says, I sang for the very first time in Gem Holograms. Okay, so that's that. Interesting. It looks like he's working for his mom's company, so it's like Erica. Is Erica supposed to be his mother? I don't know. Anyway, next and last bit of info. Paranormal Activity 5 will be released. Paranormal Activity, the Ghost Dimension. It says, in an odd twist, it will also be going up against Gem and Holograms, which shares a producer in Jason Blum. Warner Brothers is also set to open an untitled horror movie on this date, so as you can see, this will be one crowd weekend with movies aimed at roughly the same audience. Interesting. Jeez, they're also making a reboot of the Ring? Rings. Or is it continuing on with the story from the Ring? Whatever. Anyway, so that's the last bit of news. So, that's it. And it's 10:29 a.m. and thanks for watching.